Let's do it. Here we go. We're live again on Thursday night at 8 o'clock from High G's. Welcome to the JFDI podcast with me, the dude from the Buzz computer game. I'm not sure what's going on. I quite like this. Anyway, yeah, and I'm a bit sparkly tonight. I just thought I would dress up for this evening's guest, who's a very good friend of mine. This man, what can I say about this man? Well, let me tell you, this man is no less than the owner of a specialist construction firm. Right, he loves nothing more than rallying the troops. This man, I thought that I understood the importance of like face to face, seeing people in the flesh and kind of, that. But this man, this man, he definitely understands the importance of face to face. He's always there. He's always there, getting the troops ready to come up. This man's values include, well, do you know what? Integrity, accountability, I have known. And this man has an opinion. I'm hoping he has an opinion on most things. I mean, he usually does. So I'm hoping he's got an opinion tonight. A good friend of mine who just a second before I hit live said to me, do you know this is my very first ever podcast? It's the only time I've ever sat down and been asked questions by someone and it not be the police. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big High G's JFDI podcast welcome to Mr. Stevie Brock. Hello, mate.
Good evening. Good evening.
How was that?
Well, I didn't know you were talking about for a minute. Yeah, that's that is a fact. Say again.
Thank you very much for coming on. For your first podcast, thank you for coming and sharing the experience in High G's.
First ever interview that could probably not lead to a charge sheet. Or maybe it will.
I don't know.
We never know.
Yeah, it depends where we go, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you what we'll do, right? We'll start with music, just in case, right? And we'll keep it somewhere that we should be relatively safe, or you would hope, right?
So, yeah, I think they're all kind of. It's funny when you ask me when I saw this kind of format for your podcast, which I think is brilliant. I would have said if you'd have asked me if I was kind of into music, I'd have probably said I can kind of take it or leave it. But the more I kind of thought about it, and the more I kind of delved into it. That's probably not the case, and there's probably quite a lot of. I found it very, very difficult to. Well, as you know, because I just kept sending them, didn't I? Yeah. I found it difficult to nail 4 down, really. So, yeah, the 4 I've chosen have got some quite deep meaning.
Nice. Let's dive in. You say that we've got to get straight in there. So, do you want to do them in any order or just as they come?
Probably do them in the order that I sent them you, mate.
Good. Okay. So we're going to kick off with Oasis then.
Of course.
And don't go away.
Yeah. So obviously there had to be an Oasis one in there. So for my generation, not yours, because you're a little bit older than me, obviously. So Oasis was kind of the music of our kind of generation, our younger generation. And obviously they've got loads of fucking amazing tunes. But Don't Go Away became kind of a, and it's a bit morbid really. So I, oh fucking, here we go. So I was from, I had a really good upbringing. There's no kind of back sob story here that I was kind of, I've lived any kind of fucking hardship as a kid. My mum and dad were divorced, but we had, we had step families as well, and we had a really good upbringing. Both my parents worked hard. and we didn't really want for anything. Was just from a fairly normal working class background, and I just was craving something. I didn't know at the time, but probably some kind of acceptance, and so I went off the rails. I went off the rails as a kid. Well, as like it's kind of late teens, kind of when I left school, and I managed to pretty well fuck my life up within the space of about 4 or 5 years. Got myself in trouble with the police. Got kicked out of me. I lived with my dad at the time. Got kicked out. Got caught with a substantial amount of drugs stashed in my dad's house. Armed police came through the door at one point. And bearing in mind that we're from, I've got I've got 2 brothers and a sister on that side of the family. We were all just dead normal, and we all just lived a normal life. So it didn't go down very well.
No,
so at 21, I was kind of kicked out, and I was in a relationship at the time, and I managed to fuck that up. And at some point over that kind of period, I ended up homeless, and I was couch surfing to start. I was sleeping in my car, and yeah, it was a pretty rough time, and it just seemed like that song.
21? Did you say 21?
I was about 21, yeah.
21.
About 21, and that song just seemed to play, and every time I was kind of going through a bad patch, it was just fucking on. And the words are really kind of about or I said the interpretation I took of it was that basically I'd managed to fucking going from having like this big loving family and a girlfriend and a relationship and to just nothing within a very, very short space of time. And it just became a song that even when I hear it now, it kind of takes me back to that point.
Yeah.
However, I never kind of shy away from it. So it's on most of my playlists.
Yeah.
Because it is a little bit of a reminder that obviously of where I've got to really.
Yeah.
But it still takes me back to that kind of time in my life when I was it was lonely. It was a lonely time. So yeah, it has real kind of impact and meaning to me, that.
So it's funny. I've written a number of questions down. Sometimes they have a tendency to follow the song, but I certainly didn't intend this to follow the song, but it kind of does. So you got into this situation.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that I mean, how long did that go on, and kind of what was what time was there a moment that you decided, right, no more, I got to change this?
Yes, there was. There were actually there were several moments. I suppose the start of my deciding that it took years. It took years for it to kind of sink in that this wasn't the life for me. So what you need to understand is that the circles and the people I was kind of mixing with at the time, they were serious people, and I was at the time I thought I was full blown Scarface, badass gangster, and I just wasn't. And you know me, yeah. You know me, and I was playing. And listen, the glamour of it all was. I mean, we did some amazing. To look, I don't have any bad memories of it. I don't look back and think there's no kind of regret. I suppose there is in the kind of people that were hurt along the way. But for me personally, had there not been that kind of impact on my family and people around me, I had a fucking time of my life.
Right.
I had a time of my life, but there was a couple of serious incidents. So in 2001, there was an incident. with some of the guys who were, in fact, there was a football match that was on. Might have been England v Scotland. Anyway,
no.
we won't talk about that. So, and what happened was,
we know what the result would have been.
Some of the lads were in. Some of our lads were in a pub, and some other lads came in from another local area, and someone's girlfriend was abused and give her some shit, and it kicked off, and there was a kind of scuffle ensued, and there was kind of words exchanged, and it was like, we're coming back tomorrow and we're going to do this, that, and the other. So we got a call to say, could you come up, and we were going to this booze, and again, playing gangster, and we went along, and this was at about 4:00 on a Sunday afternoon. So basically, 2 cars pulled up outside the pub. 6 or 7 lads got out, came in the pub, and just opened fire with a pistol. So out of 8 of us, 4 of the people we were with were shot. The best mate was shot, stood 5 yards away from me, and that at that point was this kind of this realization that actually I don't want to be a gangster anymore.
Just got a little bit real.
I want my mum. I don't want to be a gangster. I want my mum. Yeah, it was fucking terrifying, and I was like I say, I was 21, and at that point I was like, this is fucking serious. This isn't just playground bullshit anymore. That this, people are getting hurt.
Yeah, killed.
No one was killed. No, there was
right.
There was a couple of quite serious gunshot injuries.
Yeah.
There was also some life-changing injuries to the other group,
right?
Caused by machetes. It was like something out of the Wild West. You've never seen anything like it in your life, and at the time, I remember it being terrifying, but it still didn't stop us, and still other stuff. But this then this escalated and carried on and carried on and carried on. I then got my house raided. The one of the places I was staying got raided. There was a substantial amount of drugs in the house that they didn't find. And again, that was another close call. So
were they that well hidden?
Listen, I don't think we've got time to go into this. It's the most. So in a nutshell, I was told that the police were going to raid the house where I was, and it was a Friday night, and the front door of this house was always open, so people would just come and go, buy the drugs, yeah. And I literally had sat there and I bagged all this coke up, and for whatever reason, the front door was locked. There was a knock on the door, and everyone knows if you're going to get your house raided, they're going to come in the morning, yeah. So and I used to put it like a coffee tin, so there's about 40 grams of coke, and it's all in this coffee tin, and there's a knock on the door. This is the people who are watching this are going to go, what a load of shit. On my children's lives, this is what happened, right? So there's a knock on the door, so I stands up, I've got a gram of coke in my pocket, and I screws the lid on the tin, and we've got one of them, I don't even remember, like from IKEA at the time. It's like a tall lamp with like a half moon shaped top on it. Right. And I drops this tin in the top of this lamp. The lad I was living with at the time smoked a lot of weed, so there was weed everywhere. So the police came, I opened the door and the police rushed in with a warrant. Lads that were there all shit themselves. So they searched me, I've got a gram of coke, so they arrest me, and they say we're going to search the house. So they bring a dog in. The dog is going mad because there's weed everywhere. So they just said, no point, just take the dog. So they come in, they search the house, they find scales, they find bags, they find all sorts of stuff. And I'm sat and I'm handcuffed. And the rummaging, they're pulling all the fucking, there were videos and DVDs at the time, pulling them all out from under the TV. And this copper, he was only about 5 foot. And he's looked up at this lamp. And I thought, that's fucking me, I'm done. That's 5-7 years, whatever it is. And I know where the light, he puts his hand up like that in this lamp, and he rubs his fingers around this lamp, and then he just fucking goes about his business. And I was like, what the fuck? So no sooner as this happened, that the lad who I was living with, bear in mind he wasn't a drug dealer, he was just one of the lads. He was going on a stag do to like some kind of festival, and he walked back through the door of his own house. So bear in mind, I'm only staying there. I'm sleeping on his couch at the time. I've been there 6-8 months, whatever it was. And so they've raided the house for me. And he walks in, and the copper says to him, "Have you got anything on you shouldn't have?" And he produces a bag of 200 E's out of his pocket.
Oh, no.
So he'd been and bought these E's to take on this stag do for this weekend for all the lads. And so as soon as they nipped him, they took us both to the police station. They interviewed me. They charged him with intent to supply because he just said to him, "I've just bought them for me and my mates." Well, that's intent to supply. They dropped us back off. They kept us in. They dropped us back off and walked back in the house. And he was like, "Did you not have anything?" And as we walked in, I got hold of the lamp and I pulled the lamp down, and there's finger marks, not fucking 2 inches from this tin. So I opened the tin. I put a bag each out. I said, "Come on, we're fucking going." Yeah, I rings the lad who I was dealing for at the time and just said to him, "Just let me know what I owe you. I'm fucking done. I'm done." I've spent loads of nights. I've spent a lot of time in the police station. I've been interviewed a lot of times, but a lot of time locked in all of myself. I've never served a night in jail in my life. And
Right.
if I'd been caught for everything I'd done, I'd still be in there now. And I've just been so lucky. He wasn't so lucky. He got 2.5 years.
Right.
No criminal record. Working lad. Never been in trouble with the police before. Got 2.5 years. So yeah. So anyway, so that's another fun fact. I then went to Guernsey. I decided because through all of this,
was that it then? When you'd phoned when you'd said to the guy, "How much do I owe you?" That's me done. Was that it? Was that you?
Pay what you owe, and that there was no scenes from Scarface. There was no you'll carry on. I was I was a street level dealer. I wasn't fucking taking over any third world countries. Through all of this, from leaving school, so again, I don't know if this is something you know. So I left school I did well at school. I did A-levels, did A-level law, and I was destined for university to become a solicitor. That's always what the intention was. I got a place at uni, and decided, and then just fucked it all up. Fucked up my A-levels and everyone was going out and getting off their heads, and I was like, it's not for me. This I'm not doing it. So my dad, being my dad at the time, was like, "Listen, that's fine, but you get a job. The rent's fucking due. Then get your ass out of bed. You don't lie here stinking in bed. That's you." So at the time, both my brothers were doing electrical apprenticeships. My stepmom worked at the college, so she got me an electrical apprenticeship. So through all of this, through going off the rails and everything else, I always had a trade.
Right.
I always get a trade. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what it meant was, so every time I had these kind of blips and went off the rails, when I kind of sorted my head out again, I could walk into a job. I could go and get a job on a site, go and get a job for an agency. So I could always earn money.
Yeah.
And so I decided so it all went tits up, the shooting happened, all that happened. I decided I was going to, a friend of mine got me a job in Guernsey, wiring the post, the sorting office for Royal Mail in Guernsey. It was brand new at the time. So I was like, right, I'm going to go to Guernsey, make a new start, and sort myself out. And we were there just over 3 weeks and got into a altercation in a bar with some local lads, and ended up on the run for an attempted murder charge.
Oh dear.
So I had to come back we had to basically leave all our stuff. We opt to ferry. You don't need your passport to get home from Guernsey, so we opt to ferry. Got a mate of ours to come and pick us up in a van. Got back, went to see a solicitor just to say, could you ring Guernsey police and find out what's what? And they said, yeah, you need to come back because you're on an attempted murder charge. So I was then on the run for 18 months.
On the run?
On the run. So basically, what happens there is they are a different. They have a different. They're a British state, aren't they, Guernsey? But they have different laws. The laws are savage over there as well. So if you get caught with a little bit of weed, you're looking at 5 years.
Crikey.
And it's very much all like the Guernsey. I mean, I don't know if it's the same now. This was fucking 20 years ago, but like on a Sunday, you couldn't buy bin bags and birthday cards and fucking. It was all these mad fucking laws. It was just a crazy place. Honestly, mate, it was like going back in time. So what he said to us, what the solicitor said to us was, he said Guernsey police, Greater Manchester Police won't come and arrest you, but what they will do is they will, if they catch you, or if Guernsey Police come over and catch you, you'll be extradited.
Yeah.
So, bearing in mind at the time, my dad had kind of kicked me out, but he spotted me. He'd spotted me outside of. He knew I'd gone to Guernsey to try. I'd gone to see him and said, "Listen, I'm gonna go and sort my head out. I know I've put you through a lot of shit. Don't worry, I'm sorting my life out. I'm going to Guernsey. I'll be back in 6 months." 3 weeks later, he sees me outside of Boozer. So he gets messages to me to say, "What the fuck's going on?" Yeah, I thought you were in Guernsey. So I basically had to go and say to him, "Listen, this is what's happened. If anyone comes to the house, you haven't seen me."
Right.
I'm thinking about it now. At the time, it was kind of it was all very matter of fact. And I remember being sat in the gym. We come out of the gym, me and my dad and my brother, because we would meet for like that. That's kind of, he'd ring and say, do you want to meet up? And we go and train, and then we'd go and get a coffee. And like Julie would ring him and be like, "The police have been again." And my dad would be like, "Right, you need to move on." And he kind of played his part, my dad. And when I think now, he must have been worried to fucking death. But he was protecting. He was trying to protect me. So,
yeah.
So basically, we always kind of got word when Guernsey police came over. They came probably 4 times a year. So they would appear, they would go around to one of the lads' houses. Then we'd get a call saying, "Guernsey police are here looking for you again. We've been knocking on doors." And anyway, we got away with it for 18 months. And then it was December. And we get a call off the solicitor to say, they've turned up at Doug's and knocked on the door. And Doug's answered the door and they've said, "We're looking for Doug." I won't say his last name. Not that he'll be watching, but not that he'll be watching. And he was like, "Nah, mate, don't do that." And he just held a picture of him up to him and was like, "Come on, mate." So they locked him up. And so the solicitor said to us, me and the other mate, Danny, they were like, "You need to hang yourselves in now because you need to go and be tried together to stand a chance and go as co-accused." And so my dad was talking about remortgaging his house to pay for legal. There was a lot of, and at the time I was still just a fucking idiot, kind of not even like understanding the magnitude of what was going on.
Yeah.
So we decided we set a date to hand ourselves in. We then threw a party for all our family and friends because we thought we were going to get extradited and we wouldn't see anyone for 10 years. So we had this big party. The day after, we drive to the police station. We goes in, and it's one copper from Guernsey. He was about 12, and he was like, and what had happened is during the fight, Danny had been stabbed in the arm, and we got him treated on the ferry on the way back. And there was a record of it. So our solicitor, he's dead now, a guy called Duncan Norbury, and he basically said to this child, he was like, he was like, you're on camera in this pub. What were you doing there? We're like, oh, we were going to fight. There was 3 of us and 9 of them. Blah, 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 blah. This had happened. This lad apparently had took a glass in the face, and then as someone had gone down on top of him, the broken glass had been stuck in his armpit, and he'd lost quite a lot of blood, and that was where the kind of attempted murder thing come from. But in the interview, our solicitor basically said, well, we're going to be pursuing a counter charge of Section 18, wounding with intent, for Danny getting stabbed. And this couple was like, oh, right, okay. So there was a load of to and fro-ing. And the next thing this cop comes in, he was like, right, he said, I'm going to have to go back to Guernsey. You're going to be released on bail. We were doing interview at Ashton Police Station, so Great Manchester Police, caution there with them. You're going to be released on bail, and we'll be in touch. And that was in 2003.
And that was it?
Never heard it. The only thing the solicitor said to us was this. So that warrant is probably still active on Guernsey. So what he said is, don't ever go back to the Channel Islands, ever. Don't ever go back to Guernsey. Don't ever go to Jersey, and don't ever go to France on a ferry, because if it's diverted to Guernsey and you get off, the chances are you'll be arrested. So that is
right.
So yeah, that's just those are just I've just talked shit there, haven't I? So these are all kind of quite monumental things that went on.
Yeah.
And still
that's not the biggest.
So, as with most people, what was enough was, I used to come up to where I live now up in Glossop to see my mum. My mum lived up here, and I used to meet her in a pub, which is the pub that. No, you didn't come to that pub. My local now, and who is now my wife, was working behind the bar, and so we kind of started seeing each other on and off, but she's very much a straight member. She's certainly not ever had anything to do with any criminal activity. You know, she's straight laced. She's as straight as they come. And I was still trying to play both hands, and still go and do what I was doing. And then, but at the time, again, when I met her, I was kind of sleeping in my car, and so I was homeless basically, for all intents and purposes, when I met her. And she was like, I think she took pity on me a little bit. I remember she used to bring me food, and she used to bring me,
that's okay for them to feel sorry for you. Mine did too.
What?
My wife will still tell you now, Karen. She's exactly the same. She's like that. I just felt sorry for you.
Yeah, well, that's what. So she used to bring me. So because I was sleeping in my car and it was winter, I used to put the engine on to keep the car on, and then I used to run out of petrol. So she used to bring me gallons of petrol. So I used to ring her and go, "Oh, fuck, you run out of petrol, I'm freezing." She used to bring me petrol to where I was sleeping. So, and then, that kind of went on for probably 6 to 12 months. And this is like probably 2005 now. And she just said to me, I can't be with you while you're still involved with this other stuff, because it's just never a life I'm going to be able to get used to. We're still turning up, and clearly stuff had gone on, and she just saw a few things that she just didn't, that frightened her. And it just wasn't for her. And at the time, I was like, well, you don't fucking tell me what to do. I'm not, you know what I'm like, Graham. You know I don't be. And then there was an incident. Another incident involving a load of lads and some shots fired, and I just remember coming back and waking up and thinking, this is going to end badly, this. And I think maybe it just took maybe it was an ingredient of, maybe it was just timing, that I'd kind of grown up a little bit, because by this time I'm 26, 27. I'd disappointed and let my family down as much as anyone could do, and they'd gone through disowning me. They bailed me out thousands of pounds of drug debt. I was going to get fucking took away and done in, and they bailed me out, and they bailed me out, and they bailed me out, and that had its impact on me. And then obviously meeting Kaz, and then this one particular thing happened, and I just thought, that's it. And I remember clearly it was February the 13th, 2006. Kaz's dad died. And about 4 days after that, I got up, I snapped my SIM card in half, and I've never ever spoken to or seen any of them people. So these are lads that I've spent every day with for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And I just walked away.
That was it.
And unbeknownst to me, I only found this out years later, because obviously my dad was still living up there at the time. And they'd been around to my dad's and threatened my dad, where is he? You need time to get in touch. We're going to blow your house up. And my dad, to be fair to him, just held his own. He was like, you do what you got to do, I ain't telling you, fuck off. And eventually it just stopped, and yeah, I left it behind.
Good grief.
So yeah, quite emotional like talking about that.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And just like that, I'll bet at that point then there must have been a big hole left, with such a big part of your life just completely gone. But before I ask you to go on, what I am going to ask you, otherwise we'll be here until midnight, is whereabouts your next song fits in all of that.
It's all
in this timeline, because we've got Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. So
Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls was actually out 20 years ago. So that song was played by them. I don't know, 20 odd years ago, whatever it was. When it was released by the Goo Goo Dolls. I don't think it was released as a single, but it was on their album years and years and years ago. Many years later, it was released as a record, which is when it became kind of. So what happened was, again, because we were all playing Gangster's Paradise, and we experienced quite a lot of death as well. So a couple of lads, there was some drug overdoses, car accidents, there was some suicide. One of the lads was stabbed, one of the lads was beat to death. It was a lot of death from being, not all sinister, some accidents, but we just seem to deal with a lot of death. I think in the course of about 7 years, I lost 11 friends or people my age. So we used to go and have, we saw it at birthdays at the cemetery. We all used to go and sit and smoke weed and drink beer, and it was. And my dad used to say, "You're sick. There's something wrong with you." But it was all kind of very matter of fact. And I think when you're young and you're stupid, you don't realise the impacts of the stuff that you do, and how kind of precious that life is. And I think. So anyway, so we all had a funeral song, which we had picked for each other. So everyone knew. So you knew within your group of friends something happened to them, what they wanted playing at their funeral.
Yeah.
And that was mine.
Right. They chose it for you?
No. I chose it.
Oh, you chose it.
I chose it, and again, it was bullshit. It was you'd sit down and I think to myself, what horrendous, embarrassing our behaviours. But we were kids, we were young kids.
Yeah.
So,
but you see,
fast forward 20 years, and we're getting married. Me and now Kaz, who's now my wife, we've got 2 children with, and we're trying to sort out a playlist. And she goes, "What about this?" And I was like, "Oh," because at the time it was then re-released so it was commonly known.
Yeah.
And she played it, and I was like, "What the?" So the two.
Everything comes.
So that song. So we had a videographer. So our wedding was put to a video, which my children, Ava, watches once a week. She watches our wedding video once a week.
Yeah.
And that song is played over the wedding video. And again, it was one of the songs on the playlist, but the videographer just, when he sent us the video, there's Wonderwall playing over it, there's an Adele song, there's Iris, and I was like, it was just very, very, very spooky.
But you see, if you take the kind of lifestyle that you were talking about there out the context, I actually think that there's something kind of quite. I mean, I've spoken about this with other friends before about like what song you want played at your funeral. I think it's quite it's called, good preparation, right?
Yeah. I always said I'd quite like to see you turned up. And I've also said, and this is now on record because obviously, this is being recorded. But I don't want any of that. When people say, "Oh, wear bright colours and I'll be smiling," fuck all that. I want you all crying for weeks and weeks and weeks. Black veils, the full fucking it. If my wife meets someone, tell my wife, don't meet anyone else. If you meet anyone else, yeah, may you get fucking struck down by lightning, you horrible bastard. And especially if it's that fucking Chris Shear, you can tell him from me. Evening, Chris.
Oh, brilliant. So that's the Goo Goo Dolls then. Your funeral. So, because I've got more questions to ask you, but I want to jump on to the next song just so that we get through them. But also because I have one or two friends that are quite into country music, but it did take me by surprise.
Did it throw you?
That your next song did what?
Did it throw you?
Yeah.
Good.
Chicken Fried, the Zach Brown Band, yes.
So the Zach Brown Band, so Chicken Fried. So obviously, as instructed, you listen to it full blast.
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel?
It's just kind of like, come on.
But if you listen to the lyrics, So what happened then was, let's fast forward past all that fucking nonsense. And I've now met. So I think part of the reason I was like I was, I've become quite obsessive about things, and I'm kind of an all or nothing. You know that about me anyway. So I've got a very addictive personality. I'm quite obsessive about things, and quite creative. And so when that once I'd sorted myself out and kind of, I needed something to focus on, like you say, it left a big void in my life. I met some friends through Caroline that at the time, I was like, I've got nothing in common with these people. But a couple of them were young business owners, entrepreneurs, and so I started my business. My first business was a building company. I still own that building company, and I became, over the course of 10 years, like an absolute workaholic.
Yeah,
like I was obsessed. So it was. I lived and breathed this business, and I loved being. What I really loved and still love is when I do bump into people from my past. So bearing in mind all that stuff I've just told you, there are people that I've bumped into that I haven't seen since those days. And when they find out what I do, or find out via third parties, and they'll go, "No, it can't be the same person you're talking about. There's no way that's the same guy." Crack was my drug of choice.
Right.
For a long time, and I was, during some of that time, what I was just talking to you about, I was in pretty much as bad a state as anyone could ever be. So I then threw myself into my business, and I'm all in. And a friend of mine said to me, a very, very good friend, who's someone who can, not a friend that we would go out all the time, but someone who's always been really, really straight with me. I respect him. He's also a business owner. And he said to me, he got in his car one day and he said, "I'm going to put a song on for you." He said, "I want you to listen to the words." And he was like, "There's more important things in your life now. You've got your children and your family than working constantly." And he put Chicken Fried off. And I was like, what fucking planet are you on? Turn this fucking shit off. Yeah. And he played it, and he was in the car about an hour, and he played it, and he played it, and he played it, and he played it, and I was like,
over and over again.
Fucking hell. And then on my 40th birthday party, he requested it off the DJ, he got me up on the stage, yeah, and we danced to it, right? So Kaz then put it on a playlist, and my son, who's 4, nearly 5, now sings it at the top of his voice when it comes on in the car. And whenever it comes on and I listen to it, it gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because what it's about is appreciating, it's, chicken fried and a cold bottle of beer on a Friday night, and, a good song on the radio and a pair of jeans that fit you properly. I was like, fucking hell, chance to be a fine thing. So it was a real, and I knew, and it always, so if I've got, whenever going anywhere, I've got lads in the car, I'll just put it in it, so there'll be all these different songs on, bit of Biggie, a bit of Oasis, Stone Roses, Jerry Cinnamon, and then on comes fucking Chicken Fried. Everyone's like,
huh?
The fuck? And I just turn it up and I slap my thigh and I sing it at the top of my voice. And also, the thing we do, the state change of the 5-minute disco.
Yeah.
It's the first one on there, mate.
Right.
It could change that song. This is going to change your life, Graham. That song, you'll listen every time you listen to it. It never gets boring. It never gets tedious, and it's just a fucking fantastic song. And it's the only country song I'll ever listen to ever in my life. So let's just leave that there. Get it added to your playlist.
I love that. I absolutely love it. So, crikey, I'm trying to. Do you know? I'm trying to think. So I've got to ask you a couple of quick questions, right? Because these are good, and we can get back onto the interesting stuff. So, £100 million you had, right? There you go. How'd you spend it?
I would invest it sensibly in gambling, crack, and prostitutes, and then I would just waste the rest. No, I'm kidding.
Probably the most honest answer anyone's given me.
So first of all, you'd have to give everyone you cared about. There's no good having £100 million on your own because you're bored out your fucking mind. Yeah, because when I wanted to go to Saint Tropez, come on, Graham, let's go down to Spain. Well, I can't because I've got to go to work tomorrow. Yeah, well, fuck that off. So you've got to, So first, I would make a lot of people very happy. But to be honest, mate, and I heard this a really interesting thing on a podcast of, I think it was Rob Moore, and he was like, someone said it might be Martin. If he was like, so you retired, and he was like, when you say retired, what do you mean? Do you mean pipe and slippers retired? Because that'll never happen. Yeah. So I retired. I did one business venture, and when I got it to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done with this, I retired from that and did something else. And I think about £100 million, mate, I would love to be in a position where I was building my own properties, like high-end, real kind of state of the art, but just being able to just drop in and out of it when I wanted off my yacht.
Yeah.
Just like be able to slap Malk in the face with big wads of 50s, like move out my way.
Are you talking like building like massive big pimp?
And listen, that might if I say I had 100 million, I'd probably think, fuck that, I'm not doing any of that. But yeah, in my mind, what I always said is if I became a millionaire overnight, if we won the lottery, I wouldn't just stop. Yeah. I would want to be in business. I've always said if I could get $1 million, I could turn it into 10 million. And if I get 10, I could turn it into 100.
Yeah.
And I think, I say to sometimes the same lad who played me the Zach Brown band, the Chicken Fried song, and I say, because my, across my businesses, it can be stressful and there can be a lot of pressure, and I go, I'm fucking sick of this. And he goes, I said to Kaz is doing really well at work. She's had a couple of good promotions. And I was like, we've got these couple of rental properties as well. I could probably retire. And she was like, fuck off, Steve. Like, then what you can't even last through the weekend without getting bored out of your mind. So, what you're going to do? What you sit home and watch fucking Jeremy Kyle? She was like, I said, I'll just sit home and watch Jeremy Kyle. She went, it's not been on for about fucking 2 years. So the fact that you even know that.
Oh, dear. Right, okay. Here's one on the subject of music. What's your best, your favourite ever live music experience?
Oh, easy, fucking easy. Oasis, Eaton Park.
Yeah.
Off me nut. Don't Look Back in Anger. The fucking rain was horizontal, and I remember kind of looking up to the stage with my brother. And it was fucking howling how it rained. The lights were on, it was on, and I was like, this is possibly the best experience of my life ever. It was fucking unbelievable. Huh?
What night were you there?
The night it was fucking raining, I don't know. So I tell you what, I've seen Oasis there, and I went to the Stone Roses reunion there, which was equally as good.
In Heaton Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at both of those gigs as well.
Yeah. Were you in the mosh pit?
No.
So I was the guy. So what happened was this. So I knew a lad that worked at the bar thing, and he gave me a staff band. So basically, I got a crate of beer. So in front of me was a crate of beer, and there must have been 200 people that day come up to me and go, "Where did you buy a crate from, mate?" And I was like, "Staff, mate, staff." I never had to move apart from for a piss. I just fucking sat. I never had to go to the bar. So that would have been me. You'd probably see me in the middle.
Oh, dear. Brilliant. Okay. Oh, let's see where I've got one of the. And there was another quick one here. Oh, yeah, that's a quick one. What are you reading at the moment?
Ooh, that's a fucking great question. So I am on James Smith audiobook. I'm on James Smith, Not a Life Coach, for the second time.
Yeah.
And I'm on the most recent Jack Nightingale thriller by Stephen Leather.
Oh, right.
Which is super. So Stephen Leather, do you know Stephen Leather, the author? So he does the Spider Shepherd, the ex-SAS. He's a really good author, and then he branched into this supernatural thriller. And I was put onto it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is not for me. All about demons, but it's fucking brilliant." He's on about 6. San Francisco Nights, I think it's called. It's the fact up there. But whatever the most recent one is, these New York Nights, Tennessee Nights is up. But it's really, really well worth a read for fiction.
Yeah,
well worth a read, mate.
There we go.
I tell you what else I've been sent today.
I love asking these questions because I always learn something.
Webby sent me Grant Cardone, Be Obsessed or Be Average or something.
Right, okay.
So I started listening to it, and I wanted to punch Grant Cardone in the fucking throat because he's just in your fucking face, in it. I don't know anyone else like that, do you? So I said to Webby, I can't fucking listen to him. I can't listen to him. And he was like, "You need to go on Discovery Plus and watch Undercover Billionaire." You watched it?
No, I haven't yet. No,
mate. Listen, change. I love it. Grant Cardone. I want to be his fucking mate. I love him. I think he's brilliant, and it's going to allow me to listen. Now I've got used to his fucking over the top American fucking twang. I'll be able to listen to the book. It's supposed to be really, really good.
Right. What channel's it on? Did you say?
It's on Discovery Plus.
Discovery Plus.
Yes.
There we go.
That's what you have to pay for, Graham. Just so you know.
Is it?
Yeah. You're tight, you're never going to get it.
Well,
buy it on Amazon Prime though for about $9.99, I think. Season 2, Undercover Billionaire.
Right. There we go. Right. Let's do your last song. In fact, shall we do your last song? So, see, before we go to your last song, right? Let's go back to where we kind of left off, because you kind of given us a bit of a right from back then up to meeting Kaz, getting married, starting your own business. Things have kind of changed. You've not seen that life in the past, and things are kind of going good. You've got kids. You've been introduced to chicken fried, young children, and life is kind of good, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a big line here that says, what would you consider then to be, because you've got young children, right? What would you consider your biggest challenge that you've faced in the last 2 or 3 years, and how have you overcome it?
What a fucking fantastic question, Graham. So, and leads us nicely. It's almost like you've done this before. So, when I married my wife, who is the fucking absolute love of my life, I adore this woman, and all I ever wanted to really be. Turns out I didn't want to be a gangster. I wanted to be a dad, really. You know, and I had my daughter. You're the dad to, you know, I'm sure these guys listening who aren't parents or who are dads to sons, and I'm a dad to a son as well. But being dad to a daughter is possibly the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, by a mile. Okay, so I love my son, but he's a complete knob. Yeah. the knobhead gene, which is strong in our family, runs through him. And listen, and I love him, and I adore him, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a feeling that. So I had my daughter, and we moved into a bigger house, and we spent a lot. We put an extension on it, and I had everything that I wanted. So I had, you know, my wife is hot. You've seen her, yeah. Although I say it's her that's punching, but you know, other people would disagree. You know, my kids are great, beautiful. You know, I've got a lovely house. I had these businesses, and life was pretty much fucking perfect. And when you've got something that's perfect like that, you don't want to fuck it up. And I made a series of bad business decisions in 2017 that led to some serious financial problems. You know you've got problems when your accountant turns up at your office. And I was like, what are you doing here? And he was like, we need to have a chat. Various things have gone on. And he was like, you've now, you know, you've got this VAT bill, you've got this. You just, you know, this business is done. I was like, well, what do you mean? I couldn't get my head. I was like, well, no, what do you mean? He was like, you're insolvent. You're going insolvent. You're gonna lose your business. You're gonna have to, you know, bankrupt your business. And I was like, so Kaz had always said to me, she doesn't have massive lot of involvement in the business. She just always said to me, you know, Kaz has got a really good job, and we pay half to everything. You know, there's no kind of it's not weighted one way or the other. We split things down the middle. We always have. That's how she wants it. That's how I wanted it. So she's worked equally as hard for our house and everything we've got as I have. And she always just said to me, whatever happens, don't ever put this fucking house at risk. You do your business is limited. You don't ever put this house at risk. Now, naively, and again, you know, we've talked about this before, no one teaches you how to be a businessman or to run a business. When you start out, you learn by your mistakes. And I'd signed some accounts which had personal guarantees on them, which I was kind of, Was I aware of it? Was, you know, ignorance isn't an excuse, but I kind of, you know, without the personal guarantees, you wouldn't have got the accounts. I was trying to grow my business. So basically, he was like, there's a good chance they're going to come and take your house off you. This was in November of 2017. So we got an insolvency practitioner to come out, and we spoke to him, we went through everything, and it was horrific. And I kept that to myself for that Christmas because I didn't want to tell her, I didn't want to spoil Christmas for her, for Ava. Jacob was, he was only 1 at the time. She was fucking spending money. Every time I come home, there was more fucking presents in the house. And I was like, oh, fuck, you know, people, close friends were like, you need to tell her. I was like, there's no fucking way. You know, that this, you know, this is not going to change. This thing's going to take till February. You know, I may as well tell her the week before.
Yeah.
I'd intercepted bailiffs at the end of the street. And you've heard all that stuff I've been through. And I think when you're young and you're stupid, and this was the most horrific, you know, people that go on, oh, you know, you're limited company. We spoke about this. You're limited company. Just fold it. Just bump it. Start again. What a load of shit, mate. What a load of shit. It is that we're now 2021. We're 4 years on, and I'm just about recovering from it financially, emotionally. Now, I've never been, you know, we didn't know what depression and anxiety was when we were kids. We were just, our family was you need to get on with it. You know, we've talked about this again with Paul. It was a man up generation. Yeah. We just weren't aware what depression was. Looking back now, have I been depressed at points in my life? Absolutely. I've always suffered with anxiety from being. I tell you, the first panic attack I ever had was when I was on the run from the police. Right. Thought I was having an heart attack, and I've suffered gradually with panic attacks on planes, panic attacks in enclosed spaces since then. But I've never ever, in all my time through all that shit, been suicidal. I can hand on my heart say that.
Yeah.
But have I considered suicide? At that point, yes. But not because I was in any pain, but because in my mind, it would take care of my family financially.
I've got you. Yeah.
So I thought if I die, my debt dies with me.
Right.
And I'd inquired about that and looked in. As it happens, you know, your life insurance doesn't pay out if you commit suicide, which I didn't know at the time. You know, I was just thinking the debt would die, the house would be paid off, Kaz and the kids would be fine.
Yeah.
And that is as dark. So bear in mind, I then went through that Christmas Day morning, kids getting up, knowing this was happening, Kaz not knowing.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve.
Same.
Kaz, you know, she's never. We didn't go out that year. Sat up crying and just. It was the darkest time of my life.
Yeah.
And in December.
Yeah.
I walked into a seminar in Newcastle.
Yeah.
An Unstoppable Underground event held by our coach.
Yeah.
Paul Mott. And
wow. So how did that come about that you walked into that? Was it
just because at that time when all that was going on, I'd seen his Cliff video.
Got you.
And it was like, because to other people, because bear in mind when my business went bump, I had a massive premises. I had 11 brand spanking new sign written vans. I had 18 staff. You know, yeah. we were everywhere. As far as if you'd have asked anybody locally to us, friends, family, they thought I was a millionaire.
Yeah.
And that whole thing about the video is on the surface to everyone else. It looks like you're doing amazing and you're dying inside.
Yeah.
You don't want to go home to the, you know, and all the things he said, barring the bit about the suicide bit, everything he said, I was like, this guy's fucking talking to me. And obviously the way he presented that and I skirted on it and followed him a little bit. I went to the first one of them seminars. came, and I remember going in and bitching to. I was sat next to a lad. I think he's called Ross. I don't think he's in there now. He was from America at the time. I said to him, "Oh, this is happening. The company's going bump, and it's 170 grand." And he went, "Oh, I've just had a company go bump for $3 million." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And then I realised as I went, because you'd go out and do these walk and talks, and I was like, "Fucking hell, these people have got other problems going on here."
Yeah.
Lads have lost kids and fucking, and I was like, "What? This is fucking." So I went to go to the next, but that whole thing of talking about your problems and standing up, as much as I can be the most confident person in a room full of my friends, like standing up in front of strangers was just not something that was fucking, for me. And the second one I went to, I never got out of the car. Just went home, got back out of the car, went home.
So for anybody that doesn't know, you mentioned the name Paul Mort. What was it he was saying?
Again,
for anybody that doesn't know who Paul is,
yeah.
And you're saying that it was like he was talking to you, and in that seminar, what was it you heard from him? What was his message, and what did you kind of, start to do from there on in?
It was just the shit he was saying. Like I'd never heard anyone speak like that. And what the fuck's meditation and what's? And I remember that he must have run not Unleashed. What would they call it? The little one that was it Unleashed?
Oh, I think it was Unleashed, wasn't it?
So yeah. he must have run one of them. I remember seeing these 4 or 5 guys at the front. One of them had a black eye, one of them had a split lip. They were all fucking hugging and high-fiving. And I was like, what the fuck is this, like some secret cult? and just the stuff he was saying, and it just intrigued me. And then I remember signing up for the Transformation, and he was sending me the videos out, and everyone that would come in my office, I was going, look at this guy, look. And people were like looking at me as if to say, what the fuck is it, and I was like ramming it down everyone's throat. And obviously, I've since become we're both students of Paul's course, and I've been in since that time.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
And this is not kind of being over dramatized for the sake of this or anything else. We've spoken about this before. It probably saved my life. I have no idea. And if you speak to my dad, and even as recently as last week when I went out to watch the football and didn't have a drink, and my own brother sat there fucking and went, "This is the best I've ever seen you in your life.
Yeah,
you are the best version of yourself I've ever seen." I was angry as fuck. I was reactive. I was a workaholic. I was, and these tools that we've learned, I've kind of, when my own wife would, if I'd started to stray from my routine, she would be like, when are you going to start journaling again? And this had gone from taking the piss out of it, like they all do. Oh, fucking hell, here we go, Mr. Paul Mort, fucking, yeah. Sick of fucking hearing that fucking, his voice on your phone screen. Yeah. So my dad saying to me, if you're ever thinking about leaving this thing and it's ever like, if it's financial, I'll pay for it.
How's it changed you?
I mean, that's probably better coming from someone else, mate, but like 180, like as much as it could change anybody.
Mm.
So the way I conduct myself, my reaction to situations, my empathy towards people, my relationship with my kids, the relationship with my wife. I didn't have a relationship with my wife and kids. I sat there. We've talked about this before, where we say, so for me going out to work 90 hours a week and saying it was for my kids was bullshit. Oh yeah. Everything I do for you, but we just want you here. I was the one walking up and down the beach on holiday on my phone, ranting and raving to the lads, fucking get this done, stressing out, fucking he's not turned up, that's not happened. You know, I don't take my work phone holiday now. My work phone gets turned off and fucking put in the safe. Yeah, I don't, you know, I don't work the weekends anymore. I don't. I do all my appointments during the working day. I train during the working day.
Yeah.
There is nothing that comes in the way of my time with my family, and you guys, you know, that's a massively important value to me. And I think, you know, I really appreciate the thing of putting yourself around people that are better than you, and who hold you to a high standard. You know, if I don't do what I said I would, I get my ass handed to me by you or by the other guys in our group. You know, and we've spoke about this before. People don't call me out. People don't call me. I just shout and scream and bulldoze my way over everyone, and all of a sudden I've met these group of guys and these 5 guys that go, no, not at all. What the fuck are you playing at? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, no. And it was difficult. You know how difficult it was for me to deal with at first.
Yeah.
It made me a better person, mate. But so anyway, back to the song. So one of the guys in Unstoppable, I don't know who it was, just put it in one day, put it in Mighty Networks one day. You know, put this song on, Jerry Cinnamon, Cantor. And I know Jerry Cinnamon. I've always liked him. I like that he sings with the Scottish twang, and I love his music. And I kind of never really. And there's a line in Cantor that says, "You'll never be a king when you're acting like a pawn." And I was like, what the fuck? And now, every time when I was driving to the North Sea last week, to you, I had to put that song on to give me the let's just say a little bit of extra motivation.
Yeah.
To get in that water without doing any breathing, because we all know that breathing is pussy, right?
Do you know? Well, that was that's another story. Do you know how Cantor came about getting into Mighty Networks?
No.
Do you know why that happened?
No. I imagine you're going to tell me it's something to do with you.
So, you know, on a lot of Paul's calls when he's been out the room and leaves Alexa kicking on in the background. So he was like, this was my transformation graduation, right? So you had like Ben Dunn there, Pete Shaw, Dave Taylor, Stuart Doughty, who have I forgotten on there? Loads more guys. Anyway, they're all in the room. Paul's nipped out to the loo and said, right, we need some music on. And I've gone, Alexa, play Cantor by Jerry Cinnamon. And he's come on, and there was only, I think, one other person knew what it was. And Paul's come in and he's like, what's this?
Mate, it's potentially the best tune ever. Ban on.
Isn't it?
Ban on. And it's so kind of, when you listen to for us as well, there's been some kind of real poignant moments where, you know, this is the beginning of the rest of your life. It's like, you know, there's been these moments and there's been these dips and these drifts where, and you listen to it and you're like, you know, it's time to fucking step up.
Yeah.
There is no better motivational song for me than that. And it just goes with, for me, it's the Unstoppable anthem.
It's a corker, absolutely.
And for me, however long this Unstoppable journey goes on for me,
that'll be
it will be without a shadow of a doubt. A massive, always be a massive part of my life. Always. Because it you know, fuck knows where I would have been without it. Without him, without you guys, without the program, and without you know, maybe things would have been all right. And you know, my mum still, she triggers the fuck out of me with it. My mum still, you know, what do you need that for? What, you know, she likens it to religion. You know, and she's like, you're the first person that goes on about religion and God, and you know, because I'm, we won't get a whole discussion about that now. You know, I'm like, you know, you don't, you know, for me, I'm gonna be careful with what I say. And she's like, you're just the same. You are fucking worshipping this guy, and you are, you know, you're adhering to these rules. Because I'm like, religion for me is just someone setting rules for you. I don't want to fucking live by a set of rules. She's like, well, what are you doing now? This is the same.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm like,
these are,
you know, you don't
these
go
are
to
real.
the Catholic Church and they put you in the North Sea upside down. And then punch you in the face and make you run at the beach.
So, listen, it's interesting. You said earlier on, it's almost like I might have done it before, because I've got one question left for you. One question, and just follows on nicely from Jerry Cinema. Stevie Brock, who's the man that you would like to be in 12 months' time?
Rod Stewart. Fucking easy. Ask me another. Hey, I have this thing. So we went to Ibiza. I went to Ibiza for my 40th, and we had this agreement, and the agreement was this. So you have JFDI, right? That means just fucking do it. And we had WWRD. So every decision that was made was this: shall we go home to bed? It's 4 o'clock in the morning, or shall we go back out? WWRD is what would Rod do? Yeah. Well, I say what Rod would do. Rod would fucking go back out, so that's what we did.
And that's always a question I ask: is how do you apply your JFDI? Well, it's kind of the same, isn't it? Like, what would Rod do? Yeah.
What would Rod do, mate?
Okay.
What would Rod do?
So answer me that. I don't know if I want to ask you this one now, because what I was going to say, I was going to try and get closer to it and say, describe the kind of man you'd like to be in 12 months' time. If you want to refer to your previous answer, what would Rod do? That's cool too.
No. I know what the question was. So I don't want to be anyone. I don't want to be anybody else. I just want to be, and this is cheesy as fuck. And we always say, I just want to be a better version of myself. And listen, I'm a student of the game, and I'm learning every day. And I consistency for me is everything. I question what we do a lot, and I question whether I'm happy to, have you listened to James Smith's book?
Not yet.
So I'm thinking about just fucking moving to Australia and buying a skateboard and just fucking working in a coffee shop. Yeah, and I'm like, some of the stuff he says, and I'm like, whoa, that's fucking. There's a story in there about a fisherman and a fucking CEO, which will blow your mind. And that's kind of about, because even though I apply all these tools and I still have all this kind of quality time with my family, work is still a massive part of my life, and time's getting off. We've said this before. You have, if you're lucky, you have 18 summer holidays with your kids. You know this.
Yeah.
The girls are grown up.
Yeah.
One's gone. And the same with the magical Christmases, and it's like, and I do cherish and make the most of these moments, but I've got a long way to go to be to where I want to be. I'll tell you who I would like to be in 12 months, Graham. The person I was in Q2 of March 2020. And you know what that is.
Who was that guy?
Just a guy that had his shit together.
Right.
More than I have now. I think things have strayed a little bit. The interesting. I was absolutely certain that when I was driving to, because I'm at the office now. So this isn't my house. It's not what my house looks like. That you were going to ask me about the first time we met.
Yeah.
And the more I think about that time, as funny as it was, that sent me on a path that I would never have taken ever. That one comment you made, which was giving up drinking's easy.
Yeah.
And me going, who the fuck's this dickhead? Yeah, because that's what I thought. Who the fuck is this dick? Fucking chirping up. Fucking drinking's easy. Never even would have considered it. To you coming up to me and going, there's my number. Let's get in a WhatsApp group and let's fucking knock this booze on the head. And I was like, dickhead. Fucking dickhead. Who the fuck's that dickhead? Throw him out, will you? Yeah, you're bad. You're bad, Richardson. You're fucking bad. Yeah. To us going on that 12 months of, so from drinking 365 days a year heavily to I think I had maybe 18 nights of drinking in 365 days.
Yeah.
Mate, mind blow. And obviously because we're intelligent, we're human beings and we learn, we're not monkeys and we don't repeat things. So knowing how good a results I got from not drinking, obviously 2021 comes and I just start drinking again. There's a battle. There's always going to be a battle there, I think, with the chimp and the. But yeah.
But isn't it interesting that when I asked you who you wanted to be in the next 12 months, it turns out it was the person that you were 12 months ago. And you've just told me what you did during that time. Interesting. Anyway, that's for you to watch.
Can we cut this bit off? You fucking mind fucked me there, Richardson. I know what you're saying. You tricked me there.
Well, listen, I've had an absolutely wonderful, wonderful time talking to you on here. And I've got loads more questions, but always like to keep our listeners and our watchers keen for more. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in the green room and say goodnight to everyone else, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you very much indeed for coming on. Some great songs. If I'm going to watch this back just to see the number of times that I had to pick my jaw up from some of those moments. But what a story! What a story! Honestly, and I think from way back then to here, you're right. Like we can, the future as yet is unseen. It's for us to define, right? Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Stevie Brock. And take us off air. Stay in the green room. Next week, people that are watching, I might be on holiday, but I might have somebody for you. I'll leave it at that.